This tip is brought to you by Trophy Taker, leading the way on the line and in the field. Victory Archery, makers of the best arrow shafts on the market. Hey everybody, today I want to read an email that I've received, and to this email is from a guy named Robert Lewis from LaGrange, Texas. I do believe that's where ZZ Top's from. Man, you know them, Robert? That's pretty cool. All right. Well, Robert's question is it says, "Dear Kenny, love the website, love your YouTube videos. Thanks for all the helpful tips you've given us. One of the tips that I wanted to know is how to correctly measure the length of my arrow shafts so that I can call in my order and get the length right and not have them cut too short like I recently did when he took them to the shop." So what he's done is he's didn't know how to measure his arrows right, and he told them one thing at the shop, and they cut him that length, and he told them it was too short a length. All right, Robert. Well, that's a problem that we have a lot of, that I, as a shop owner myself, have run into a lot of times taking phone orders and internet orders also too. Well, cool. Well, Robert, for sending in that question and emailing that question, I like that question, so I picked it out of the email list. I'm going to give you a Trophy Taker Shaky Hunter drop-away arrow rest, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's a nice gift. Trophy Taker also threw in a hat for me to give to you. All right, I'm going to give you 2 DVDs, a Muzzy Bad to the Bone, Bucks Volume 4, and my video, Shoot Something, which is filmed here in Kentucky. All right, Robert. All right, Robert, what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this tip out. I'm not only going to show you how to measure the length of an arrow shaft correctly, I'm also going to show you me cutting the arrow shaft and gluing the insert in. You've already seen past videos where I've fletched the arrow and where I've put wraps on the arrow. So we're going to take it one more step, and I'm going to show you how to cut the arrow shaft the right length and glue in the insert. Okay, being a shop owner, a lot of people get messed up when they're measuring the arrow length, and they think you measure from the end of the nock all the way to the end of the insert. Some people think you measure from the end of the shaft to the end of the shaft. Well, both of those are wrong. Where you want to measure from is the nock installed all the way in the shaft. You want to measure from where the string hits the throat of the nock, which is right at the very front of the nock, and you want to measure all the way to the front where the shaft goes in, where the insert actually goes in the shaft, rather. Okay? And I have a yardstick screwed onto my desk here where I work, my table, and that's where I measure it from, and I'll show you that. Okay, we stepped over here to the saw, my high-speed cutoff saw. We're going to go ahead and cut this carbon arrow shaft off. It's a full-length shaft. This arrow is one of my arrows, so we're just going to cut it down to the length that I need it, which is 29 1/4. You saw the measurement on the yardstick a minute ago. What I use to get my bow or my arrow cutoff saw set is I'll use an Easton. This is an Easton measuring arrow. It measures your arrow length when you draw your bow back. I can measure it right to the 1/4 inch measurement and get your arrow cut perfect. I use that because it already factors in the throat of the nock and don't measure the end of it. That's what I've always used to do it. So what you do is you set it into the hole that's in your slide part of your cutoff saw. Then you align it up on the front where the blade is at, right on the 29 1/4 inch mark, and you tighten down your screw on the back to hold it, and you should be perfect. Now that we got the saw set up to cut the 29 1/4 inch length we need, we're going to take the raw carbon shaft and we're going to cut it off. But before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about safety. If you have a cutoff saw that doesn't have a vacuum pickup on it, you need to put a vacuum pickup there. You can use a shop vac with a filter, just anything that's going to suck that dust from that carbon shaft away from you so you're not inhaling it. That's really important. You don't want to get it in your lungs because, you know, it could cause you to have issues. And it's going to be noisy here for a second. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to cut this shaft off, and then we're going to go over to the table and we're going to glue in the insert. Here goes the vacuum. It's kind of loud. And then the saw is even louder. Okay, as you contact the arrow shaft into the saw blade as it spins, you want to turn the shaft so that it cuts evenly all the way around and gives you the squarest cut possible. Sorry about the loudness. All right, before we go any farther, and me installing this insert, I'm going to install it using hot glue. I'm going to be up front and straight. That's the way I do them all. I've always done it that way. It doesn't hurt the carbon fiber to put hot glue in it, I promise you. It's not that much heat. You can mix the epoxy if that's what you want to do, and you can put it in there and wait for it to dry. I think epoxy gets brittler over time. Hot glue, it's just a hot glue stick that's done. It's rubbery. You know, you want that little cushion when it hits rather than something hard and brittle. It's going to shatter like glass if you hit something hard, especially if you hit a 3D target and hit the metal post that goes through their legs. So anyway, go ahead and send me them emails and tell me how you think I'm doing this wrong. Been doing this a long time and I've always done it that way. So here's how I do it. First thing is I get something that's 1200 degrees right at the tip. And that's a torch. Yeah. And then just get that glue hot enough to melt so it'll start sticking to your shaft, to your insert. And you don't have to put a whole bunch. I try to go around and around like that to get it even. That way, once I stick it inside my carbon shaft here, you smudge it down, give it a little spin, it evens out the glue, and voila, it's glued in. Now you just have to wait a couple minutes for it to cool. All right, once it cools, which only takes a couple of seconds, you just peel it off. I like to get it before it gets completely hard, and that way you get a good clean peel. It comes right off the insert, and you got that sucker glued in. Remember guys, just don't get it too hot. Just hot enough to melt the glue, and that'll be efficient enough, because you can overheat a carbon shaft and cause it to weaken and brittle, but just that little bit of heat's not going to hurt it. I promise. I wouldn't lie to you. All right guys, I hope that I taught you the correct way to measure and how to cut an arrow off and also glue in the insert. Robert, thanks for that question. We enjoy it. You enjoy the prizes that we gave to you. Guys, if you have any questions, by all means, drop me a line at askkenny@bowtuningtips.com and I'll answer them as fast as I can. Until next time, stay tuned.